The early morning light filtered in through the cracked window of Chukwudi's tiny room. Outside, the chorus of Lagos life was already in full swing, hawkers shouting prices, buses honking impatiently, the rhythmic ring of an iron welder shaping metal a few compounds away. It was a far cry from the soft silence of Banana Island, where double-glazed windows shut out the world. Chukwudi, now living as Mr. Obi, sat at the edge of his foam mattress, lacing up the worn-out sneakers he had bought at the bend-down select market. His movements were slow but deliberate. Each step he took away from luxury brought him closer to the truth he desperately sought. He walked out of the room and greeted a few neighbors. Some responded with nods, others ignored him entirely. The compound was a cluster of rooms with shared bathrooms, long clotheslines stretching across the narrow yard, and children playing noisily with plastic bottles as makeshift footballs. He was the new face here, and he knew trust would take time. A few people had already begun to form impressions. That new man we moved in last week, he get as he be, said Mama Nkechi, the loud gossip who sold cooked beans at the corner of the street. He too quiet. And him English they too correct? Maybe no person way life beat well, someone replied. Him get that teacher look sure. Unbothered by the whispers, Chukwudi proceeded to visit more local schools in search of a teaching job. He carried a brown envelope containing forged academic records, carefully created by his lawyer's trusted team. Nothing flashy, just enough to be believable, a degree from a polytechnic in Anambra State and 3 years of teaching experience in a remote village school. At the third school, located off a dusty inner road in Abu Egba, he met the principal, Mrs. Fatima Yusuf. A strict, middle-aged woman with reading glasses and a no-nonsense expression, she eyed him from head to toe. "You're applying for a teaching position?" she asked, flipping through his credentials. "Yes, Ma," he answered calmly. "Basic English and social studies. I have experience." She narrowed her eyes. "You don't sound like someone who lives around here. Where are you from?" "I relocated from Enugu recently." "Things got difficult," he said, lowering his gaze slightly to sell the story. "Just trying to start over." She studied him for a moment before sighing. "You'll start on Monday. It's a government school, so don't expect miracles. The pay is 45,000 naira a month. No accommodation. And if you're not serious, don't waste my time." "Thank you, Ma," he said with a grateful nod. That evening, he returned to the compound with quiet satisfaction. His first major step into the ordinary world was complete. He was now officially Mr. Obi the teacher, just another man trying to make ends meet in Lagos. Back in the compound, the neighbors were still trying to figure him out. A few kids peeked into his room out of curiosity. The walls were bare except for a plastic fan buzzing noisily and a single rechargeable lamp. He had no television, no fridge, not even a kettle. He wanted to feel what real struggle was like, and he was getting it raw. Later that night, as he sat on a low stool outside his room brushing his teeth, a young woman passed by, balancing a tray of tailoring materials on her head. She stopped, looked at him briefly, and smiled. "Good evening, sir." He looked up and returned the smile. "Good evening." She was petite, dressed in a faded Ankara gown, and wore no makeup. Her eyes, though tired, carried a quiet warmth. She continued on her way, disappearing into the next block. That was Ada, the woman who would later challenge everything he thought he knew about love and honesty. Back inside, he sat with a bowl of instant noodles, his first proper meal of the day. As he ate, he scribbled notes in a worn-out notebook he had bought earlier. Day 6, disguise is holding up, started job search today, got a role. Nobody suspects, compound life is tough, but I'm adjusting, met a kind-looking woman this evening. Name unknown, he paused, tapping the pen against the paper, then added, still no one has asked me for money. That's new. He closed the notebook, lay back on his foam mattress, and looked around. The cracked ceiling, the stained walls, the smell of kerosene and burning firewood from the neighbor's room, all of it was real. And raw, no assistant. No personal chef. No driver. Just Mr. Obi, blending into the same city he used to look down on from the tinted windows of his SUV, but for Chukwudi, this wasn't suffering. It was liberation. He was beginning to see people, not through their smiles or praises, but through how they treated him when they thought he had nothing to offer, and that, to him, was the beginning of truth.